Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm gonna try to tackle talking about a team that I had to do some homework on because I really don't know of a lot. Know of a lot of their players. I don't watch a lot of basketball of their basketball team. This is the New Orleans Pelicans, and but before I want to get into that, I just want to send my thoughts, prayers, and well wishes and healing energy and every good possible energy toward everyone affected by Ida. And I know New Orleans was hit hard, so you guys are in my thoughts before we even get started on that. So, all right, let's get going. Thing about this team here is I came into it believing a certain mentality and was ready to talk about a certain thing. Then I started doing homework on some of their prospects, and now walk away having a kind of a different opinion that hasn't really all the way been thought through. Um, but I kind of wanted to come here to you guys fresh, to kind of talk about the team because of what I learned and because it's fresh in my head about some of these prospects. So that's kind of along the lines of where I'm gonna kind of bring this thing. My opinion's kind of changing in real time, but whatever the case, this is what we got going on in regards to the Pelicans. Now, if you go to some of my old videos, you'll see some of my criticisms of their franchise as it pertains to some of the moves that they've made, some of the things that they've been trying to accomplish didn't quite make a lot of sense to me. Letting Lonzo Ball walk and anticipating trying to overpay for Kyle Lowry didn't make any sense to me. And looking at their roster now, to be honest with you, that deal still didn't make any sense to me. So I'm glad for their sake, in my opinion, that they weren't able to accomplish that. They did, however, do some things, and we'll talk about it here. All right, first name I want to talk about, I'm talking about the New Orleans Pelicans, is obviously Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson is an elite athlete, and in my mind, he has the potential to be an elite basketball player. He has fantastic touch around the rim, but that's not what you know him for. You know him because he's the most powerful guy that this league has seen since Shaquille O'Neal. He jumps out of the gym. He pushes out of shoes. He literally stepped through some Nikes once. This is a guy who's just physically imposing, very large body, and moves with grace and power that rivals LeBron James, Giannis, Russell Westbrook, and some of the great Sean Kemp, obviously. Guys like Blake Griffin. This is who he is in that mold in terms of the power of the player at the power forward position. He's just phenomenal. But he has strengths that also allow him to be a skilled basketball player, not just a physical specimen. He can pass the rock very well in transition. He has very good handles. He can shoot the ball some, even though he's not known as a three-point shooter. His set shot from three does fall, and his game is continuing to grow. He has good touch, as I said, around the rim. It isn't just power dunks. He can do things ambidextrously, and most importantly, this is an unselfish star. So he's not somebody that you're looking at and say, oh, well, we're just going to toss the ball to him and he's only going to look for himself. No, he passes well out of double teams. He passes the ball well in transition. As I said, his handling is superior to anybody that I've seen at his size, and I don't think I've seen anybody at his size. So that's real, honestly, the truth. Now, he's not as tall as Shaq or anything like that. He doesn't weigh as much, but the guy is pure muscle. It's about 6'10". I didn't look this up. I should have. I think he's about 6'8", 6'8 to 6'10". So I'm just speculating here, but he's massive, dude. He has long arms, and he uses them well. He's a fantastic defensive player, fantastic offensive player, and he's one of the elite players in all of basketball. I think he is as good a candidate to be leading the league in points this season as anybody. He can score so easily, and he's going to be tasked with scoring the ball quite a bit. I think his usage is going to be as high as anybody probably in the world, and because of it, many opportunities will be there to dominate each and every night. So that's what I think of Zion Williamson, one of the elite players in this league, somebody that will continue to pile on great statistics. And with the timeline of this basketball team, I think the future is actually looking pretty bright if he decides to stay there. Believe it or not. And that is not that's not what I thought before doing homework. But some of these players are good, man. They really got some good prospects. All right, Next name up, Brandon Ingram. I'm not going to try to break down Brandon Ingram's game because I did an entire video on it about a year ago, and I broke it down when it was still fresh in my mind. And I haven't seen Brandon Ingram play up close since he left the Lakers, basically. So I'm sure, obviously, he's developed into an all-star. So a lot of what I said in that video has to be upgraded because he's simply better. But I think if you want to get a good breakdown of my understanding of the player, go check out that video. It's way back there. It's like I said, it's been over a year, almost probably 2 years since I made that video. But I sat there for a good, I'd say probably 15 minutes and just broke down everything about his game as I understood it to be. So I don't want to break him down. I'll just tell you that's an all-star, max player, small forward, long arms, obviously, full, complete basketball player. He's put on weight, and he's turned into one of the elite small forwards in basketball. So now we're at a point with BI where it's like, okay, you got Zion, you got BI. What else are you going to get him? That's really what the story is. They got two stars that they can effectively and comfortably say they're building around. I don't know that I'm qualified to say if they fit or not, because there's two things I can say about that. Their spacing was bad because they didn't have shooting most of the time. These guys have been together for 2 years. Neither one of those years were they a very good shooting team, so the spacing was off. And also, quite frankly, I haven't seen them play together very much, maybe ever. I think the one time that I watched the Lakers play the Pelicans, I think one of them wasn't playing. So I'm just not the guy to tell you if they fit well together. But in my mind's eye, I have questions about the fit just in theory, because B.I.'s, from what I've seen, is most effective with the ball in his hands, creating for himself. Even though he does do a good job of creating for others, it's more so with intent rather than just seamless fill from what I remember. It's more like Westbrook type of assists rather than Bron, type of assists, if that makes any difference. If you understand what I'm saying, it's not an affluent thing. It's not like the ball, he's doing a lot of hockey assist stuff when I was watching. It was more so him having the ball in his hands, driving into the paint, double team collapses, he kicks out the shooter type of stuff, creating shots for others that way. So it's just different, you know what I mean? But I think B.I. may have developed through that, so who knows? So just going to leave B.I. as a question mark as it pertains to myself. I just have to do more homework before I'm ready to tell y'all that he's still the guy that I remember him being. So moving on, Jackson Hayes is the next name I have written down. It's a young player that they have. I think this is year 3. They drafted him very high the same year they drafted Zion to be their starting center, and he's come along pretty good. He's a non-shooter, so for me, that draft pick was always questionable, because I just looked at him and I said, well, with his skill set, I just don't know how he plays up that draft status. And I was right. He started off slow. He's come along. He's a nice shot blocking center. A guy who can catch a lot of lobs, dunk the ball. Reminds me of a young DeAndre Jordan. I don't know that he shoots the free throw well or not. I just am clueless, so don't say I'm comparing him in that way. But more so just his skill set. Kind of guy in the paint. Very well in transition from what I've seen. Fantastic shot blocker once again. So, as he continues to develop, he's going to get more and more opportunities to show exactly what he can do and show us why he was taken so high in the draft that year. And he's coming along slowly, but they're developing him, and I think there's no pressure for him to really go crazy this year. They have some guys ahead of him, so his development's going well, I think. So moving forward, let's see. We got Devante Graham, a guy they just picked up from Charlotte, a free agent that they got in a sign and trade, if I'm not mistaken. They signed him to a 4-year deal. He's going to help with spacing quite a bit. This is a lethal offensive talent who's kind of gotten lost in the fold after breaking out 2 or 3 years ago. Some injuries, of course, the log jam with the point guard position up in Charlotte that they've had issues with. He was just very much a part of that, and because he kind of fell back in injury status, the guys who were next to him ultimately got the playing time, et cetera, et cetera. So Devante Graham has kind of gotten lost. People kind of forgotten what he can do, but I have not. That is a lethal, cold-blooded killer. He can shoot threes all night long. If he sees 2 fall, he can hit 8 of them. He's one of those guys. Do not hesitate to guard him at all times. If you lose sight of where this man is, he can shoot you down. It's that simple. Now, there will be situations where I wonder if his conditioning goes up to par, because that's going to determine how consistent he is. Because when his conditioning's not there, coupled with the inconsistency of his role, he appeared to have stats that were all over the place all the time. So consistency was the thing, but then the role wasn't consistent either. So, in health. So it's going to be about his conditioning. Once he gets his conditioning back to being where it needs to be, we will see a Devante Graham that we saw back in year 2, where he broke out. And I think the opportunity for him to score and not look to facilitate is there, because they have a couple players on this team who can do that for him. So I would like to see him start at point guard. But I think that once it gets to a point where they need facilitation, they may need to go in a different direction with the point guard position. Now, the good thing about facilitating the ball is that you don't need your point guard to do it. Zion Williamson is a fantastic facilitator. He really can pass the ball consistently, make other guys better. I would call him a guy who has the potential to develop into somebody who can make others better if he isn't already there. So I'm not as concerned about the ball movement with Devante Graham being a shoot-first player with this particular roster, being that B.I. and Zion are down there with him. Those are guys who are unselfish. They can make it work. I think their problem last year, like I said, was spacing. He's going to provide that spacing. So open shots should be available to Devante Graham, and that is bad news for anybody going up against him. Just understand that now. So that's Devante Graham. Jonas Valenciunus is the next name I'm going to bring up, another important player on this roster this year, because he is going to be tasked with stretching the floor. Now, he's a guy who only made one 3-shot a game, but that 1 3-shot was good enough, and they can up that this year. Memphis didn't really have as much use for him shooting the ball. They really kind of wanted to play him in the paint, and then because of it, you didn't really see him used in that way. But the Pelicans are picking him up with the intention of him stretching the floor. So I think he's going to love that role. I think he's going to flourish in that role. I think the numbers tell us that he's a good 3-point shooter, and with more attempts, we'll see good numbers if they take good shots, I think. So that's what we're looking for. Jonas Valenciunus is a guy who's going to be looked to shoot the 3 this year, a whole new role. And I'm excited for him. I think he's an all-star caliber player. He's been showing that. He's been teetering on that level for a couple years now. I think this is a dang good opportunity for him to really step into it and show the world that he is an all-star. I think that about him. I really do, man. I think he's one of those guys who's underrated in this league. I underrated him like hell in fantasy basketball, never drafted him. And he would always make me pay for it. As long as he was healthy, he was just putting up really, really, really good numbers. A very underrated center in this basketball league. So, yeah, that's what I think of Jonas Valenciunus. I think this is an opportunity for him to have a really, really good season. And him and Zion are going to be monsters so long as he's able to continue shooting the 3. So, and it won't be as necessary. Let me say this, too. It'll be necessary for him to stretch the floor, but it won't be necessary for him to attempt like 5 and 6 threes, because they do have shooters. They got them. Devante ain't the only one. So we'll keep talking here about players. Nikhil Alexander Walker is the next name we got. And I should have done a little more homework on the player before this particular video, because he's going to have such a heck of a role this season. He may even be their starting shooting guard. I haven't seen him play as much as I have watched his statistics in fantasy basketball, as I always do. So what I know about Nikhil Alexander Walker is he's somebody you should very comfortably, from a statistical standpoint, feel putting in the starting lineup of your shooting guard. He's a good player. Anytime he gets good minutes, he's able to show us that he's a starter. You don't have to wait on him. You don't have to worry about him. He's cousins of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's good. You could tell he grew up playing with his cousin. They have both made it, and you can definitely see that Nikhil is next up, because he's going to demand money at some point too. I see that coming. That's not just a regular kind of guy. His stats early on, being that this is coming into year 3, his stats in year 2 were very, very encouraging. So I'm looking forward to learning about Nikhil Alexander Walker. I know there's some things to break down there. Next up, Josh Hart. Josh Hart is a guy that played with the Lakers. You guys know I'm a big fan of any of the Laker kids from that era, all of them. So Josh Hart is a guy I'm rooting for. I'm glad he's back with the Pelicans. I think this year's role will be a little better for him, even though he's going to kind of have the same minutes. I just like the spacing better on this team. It's not going to be incumbent upon him to continue to have to jack up 3-point shots that he doesn't necessarily want to take just to create some spacing for this team. Now he can kind of do what it is that he does, get back to being Josh Hart, which is a combination guy that really really helps your team when he's able to freelance and do things that he likes to do from a ball handling standpoint. I think when I saw Josh Hart at his best, it was with him spearheading the offense in the summer league, and he won MVP. When he had consistent touches with the ball in his hands and he was told to go, he goes. And he went, and he continued to go against lesser talent. I love that role for him. I'd love to see a coach put him back in that position so he can go up against second units with the ball in his hands. He really ain't doing that. Every other role that I've seen him in, playing traditional shooting guard, backup shooting guard, sometimes point guard, where he's asked to shoot the ball, where he's asked to do kind of some things, it's hit or miss, you know what I mean? I saw good Josh Hart, enough good Josh Hart to want him on my team, but I saw enough bad Josh Hart to understand that he's a limited basketball player. So for the role that they have for him, coupled with all of the talent that they have at the guard position, and they have quite a bit of it, I think they're really comfortable with Josh Hart. It's one of those situations where if he plays well, you got a nice player. If he doesn't play well, you can sit him or trade him and feel all right. So I like Josh Hart for this team. I just wonder about his minutes. I really honestly wonder about his minutes because they got some guys. Next up, Thomas Sadoranski, one of the guys. Somebody who played for the Chicago Bulls, came over in trade. And he's somebody who I know can play some defense and I know can shoot the ball a little bit. But again, didn't watch a whole lot of Bulls basketball, didn't watch a whole lot of Thomas Sadoranski. All I know is that he's been a nice player for them for a couple years now. So this is the first chance he has at getting away from the Bulls, and it was a losing situation when he was there. So in this situation, he may get a chance to play immediate backup shooting guard, or depending on what the coach feels like, maybe he starts a shooting guard. You feel pretty good with him starting a shooting guard in some situations. So I don't think it's necessary, but it's an option. I have more to learn about Thomas Sadoranski, but he's with the Pelicans, so we're naming him there. Next up, Garrett Temple. Garrett Temple is a nice player, nice role player in this league. He's gained a lot of respect to the players around the league, playing in Sacramento, playing in Memphis, and just having very good tenures there. He shoots the ball. That's what I know about Garrett Temple. He'll shoot the ball. Another guy that's going to help spacing. Just a nice vet at that small forward shooting guard position that you can trust. Play a good 20 minutes a game and be consistent enough on both sides of the floor to keep your game going. Willie Hernan Gomez is on this team. He's another young center who's kind of fallen into a role that's got him kind of in and out of lineups, not really consistent. He and his brother were drafted a couple years back, and they're both pretty good, comparable to one another. I forgot where his brother is at this point, although we just made a video about it where I said I've forgotten where this brother is. So that's just my brain doing what it does. But the Hernan Gomez brothers are both in the NBA and will be playing basketball this year. And Willie is a New Orleans Pelican. All right, we'll talk about a couple guys that I'm not familiar with. Then we'll get into some guys I did some homework on. Wenyen Gabriel, not familiar. Jose Alvarado, he's a young rookie out of Brooklyn who's going to be playing for this team. I think he's also a guard, but I need to check him out. And I think that was the last name that I didn't. Dalton Holmes, James Nullany. So those are the four guys, man, that I just didn't do homework on. So congratulations to those guys who are going to be on this roster as well. And let's talk about some guys that I definitely paid attention to a little bit and wrote a little down about. Okay, give me just a second. Let me give a little notes here. We're going to talk about Akira Lewis. Akira Lewis is a guard that they picked up last year, if I'm not mistaken. Give me a half a second. I will tell you exactly what year they got him. Akira Lewis was drafted in year 2020 at the 13th pick in the draft, and he's a speedster, man. This dude has fast feet. Very good in catch and shoot situations. He's an aggressive driver. He's good use of the pick and roll. He's good in pick and roll situations. Can make good passes, even though he's not particularly gifted with his forward vision. He is a very, very good guy to have making difficult passes. He's an accurate passer. So I think his floor vision will grow as he continues to learn the game and continue to play meaningful basketball. Of course, basically he's great in passing lanes. This is a very, very good defensive player. Good defensive footwork, fantastic laterally. He's faster than everybody else, and he uses it against them. And you try to make a funny pass against him, he jumps in that passing lane, he's going the other way, you're not catching him. He's that kind of fast. One of the fastest players ever recorded in the NBA rookie combine. Not particularly leapy athletic. That's not necessarily his game. He ain't jumping higher than everybody else, but while he's on the ground, his feet are moving faster than you. It's that simple. He's like De'Aaron Fox. He reminds me of Tyrese Maxey. He's one of those guys. He's a super speedster, and he uses it under control. Very, very, very good under control basketball player. He could shoot a little bit, 36% when he was in college. I'm not sure how he shot last year, but in a limited role because they were logjam at the point guard position, he kind of was able to show that he's a very, very under control, fast player. That's what you need to know about him. Under control. Transition nightmare. You name it. Anybody that needs to run in transition, he's the exact type of running mate you want. He's going to keep up with you. He's going to beat you down there. He's going to catch the play and he's going to finish it, or he's going to make the right play to get it back to you, etc. This is a good basketball player in that regard. And yeah, he's good off the dribble, man. He's good with the ball in his hands, on the ball. He can dribble with the best of them. He uses stutter steps to get past people. He just speeds past you. He's not particularly bouncy off of the, in terms of dribble. He's not Kyrie Irving, but he will kick off you with that first step, and you are not going to keep up with him. He's one of those. So this is a speedster with 6'6" length wingspan. It's a 6'1" guard, so nice wingspan. He can definitely be aggressive, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to earn his way into the starting lineup as well. So they're going to be fighting with them guards, man. They're going to be fighting. Guys like Devante Graham, you got to stay healthy on this team, buddy, because Akira Lewis is right behind you or in front of you. I don't know. I think Devante Graham may be coming off the bench before it's over with. I do, because it's going to be hard to keep Akira Lewis out of that starting lineup. And Nikhil Alexander-Walker is a lock. So we'll see, man. We'll see what happens with the Pelicans. They have a lot of things that they can do, a lot of different things that they can do. The next name is a guy by the name of Lozada. Now, I did a video on Lozada. I didn't write down any highlight stuff here on him today, but I do encourage you guys to go back there and check out the video where I spoke on Lozada. Essentially, he's a fantastic 3-and-D forward prospect. It's really, really early, but they signed him to a 4-year deal, which is why I paid attention to him. I'm like, what the heck? Who is this guy they gave 4 years to? But then I looked at the prospect and realized, he's the type of guy that you just stash away. You pick him up like you did Jonas Antetokounmpo, and you just pretty much sit him down and don't worry about him like you did, like Denver did Porter. You just say, oh, okay, we're not worried about him right now. We're just picking him up for a 4-year deal at a real discount. We'll develop him for 4 years. In year 4, he may even be somebody that we can extend because he's become most improved player. So that's what they're hopeful for Lozada. Somebody who can shoot the basketball, 3-point shooter who's going to help space the floor. Somebody who's going to make life so much easier on Zion as Zion continues to ascend in the MVP status. This is going to be one of his right-hand men shooting the basketball as the team continues to change over the years, because the reality is some of these guys that they have, they're not going to be able to keep. But a guy like Lozada, regardless of how well he plays, he's going to be on for 4 years. And as he gets better, the better that contract is going to look over time. So that was smart, finding a player that you already know you can develop because he has translatable skills, getting him for the cheap and keeping him for the long term. It's a brilliant idea. So I love what they did with Lozada. Next up, Trey Murphy. And boy, see, this is the thing. I honestly believe this could potentially be the greatest NBA draft of all time. And the reason why I think that is not because the players at the top are going to be the greatest players to ever play. It's because the guys like Trey Murphy look like they could develop into Hall of Famers. Guys who were taken at like 16 have translatable skills and upside that is out of this world. He is one of them. After looking at his highlights from both the Summer League and looking at his highlights from his scout video that was made online, one of the scout videos. I think the upside for this dude is as high as anybody who's drafted. Any of them. All of them. Like all of them. He's that good. He's literally that good. There was a 3-minute video of him in Summer League. Summer League this year. 3 minutes. I think I saw him do just about everything. In a matter of 2 minutes. Before the end of the video, I was certain that I'd seen this dude do everything there was to do on a basketball floor. He had hit a mid-range shot. He had hit 3-point shots. And we'll get into that. He had blocked shots. He had stolen shots. He had gotten boards. He had made free. I saw everything there was to do. He had done. Blocking shots, staying down on pump fakes, catching guys in transition, and taking the ball from them before they get a chance to score. He did it all. On both sides of the floor, he showed me elite playmaking ability. Passing the ball, one of the things that they said he wasn't necessarily great at, particularly in the scouting video, was defense. Dude was locking people up. He was doing all kinds of stuff, getting in passing lanes. I mean, everything there was to do. And the thing about it is, his best attribute is shooting threes. He is a 43% three-point shooter. 43% in college. What? Let me tell you something. The Cleveland Cavaliers just paid dude from Chicago, Markkanen, God knows what. I don't even remember exactly what they paid him, but they paid him a lot more than what a lot of people would give him because he could shoot like this. Maybe. Because he ain't shot like that in a while. This dude shoots like this and does everything he don't do. I would tell you right now, with supreme confidence, that Trey Murphy is going to be a better player than Lauri Markkanen. I can tell you that right now. Very, very confidently. Not to bring Markkanen down in any way, but I'm trying to tell you something. This dude should not have fallen this far in draft. But who do you remove? That's the thing. And that's why I think this could potentially be one of the greatest drafts ever. Like ever, if not the greatest draft ever. Because not only does it have super duper stars at the top, but you got Trey Murphy's at like 17. He was drafted 17th. And I think that was a mistake because, to be honest with you, there are a lot of guys in that range between 7 and 17 that are not better prospects than him, even after doing a lot of homework on those guys. They're not better than this dude. I'm telling you, they're not. I love Jonathan Kuminga. From what I saw from Jonathan Kuminga, he's an easy bucket getter. Trey Murphy's a better basketball player, fam. This is the same argument about Giannis and Chris Middleton. Trey Murphy's Chris Middleton. That's who this is. If you want to know who to compare Trey Murphy to in some ways, Chris Middleton. But taller. If that makes any sense. 6'9", 7-foot wingspan. Shooting threes. And his three-point shot is so unbelievably smooth, y'all. I'm talking just fluent. And it goes through the bottom of the net. So pretty. You have to see it. It's one of those. He's like Ray Allen, Klay Thompson. He is an elite level shooter. I want that to sink in. Trey Murphy is going to come into the NBA and be one of the very best shooters in basketball. Now, what he's going to have to do, though, is put on weight. What I saw was a guy whose legs need to get significantly stronger. So what I don't want them to do is put him in a role to be as good as he is that soon. And the good thing is, he won't be. Because he got a guy by the name of Brandon Ingram and is not going to be getting out of the way. But let me tell you something. Trey Murphy, before it's over, will be there starting small forward. Now, I don't know what the hell they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. Because they got B.I. on file forever. I don't know if maybe you move B.I. Maybe you keep B.I. at the small forward. Maybe you move this guy to the 2. All I'm telling you is this. Suddenly, because of the presence of Trey Murphy and because of the upside of a Trey Murphy, of which anybody that looks at this guy understands exactly what I just said, they all agree with me because anybody that watches enough of him will know what I'm talking about. He's that good. They're going to have to figure out who they're going to keep. This is another one of those situations where I always say the NBA needs to expand. They have to expand because you're getting a surplus of young players coming in, doubling up and tripling up on these teams. You got to find a way to get these guys to places where they fit. And they're just being drafted to teams and being stacked on top of each other. That's what you got here. That's what you got here. And what you run the risk of is some of these guys not developing into who they should be because of it. It's very scary stuff. You look at a guy like Trey Murphy, Lord have mercy. Can you imagine if he could be on the Clippers right now instead of where Kawhi's not? Put him there, oh my God, he'd be Rookie of the Year. You know, it's that type of thing. You put him on the Portland Trail Blazers, he'd be the third best shooter. Like, that's how real of a player this Trey Murphy is. And he's not getting the attention he deserves. I will not at all be surprised if this guy is a top 3 rookie this year. Not at all surprised. Now, I know they got some athletes ahead of him. Some God-level athletes in this draft. And we're talking about ridiculous athletes. So I know it's going to be hard for him to stand out because he's not that. He's not like Green where they made him in a lab somewhere. He just moved different. He's like a cheetah or something. It's not like that. But this dude's from a basketball standpoint. Skill to skill, I saw it all, man. And I didn't even mention his handles. He had a play in the corner where he caught the ball, dribbled the ball in such a way, got it behind his back, put the back to the left, back to the right, pulled it over his head as a defender swiping by and made the play. I'm like, how the hell is this dude going 17th in this draft? He's got skills that would translate to him being one of the top 3 picks in the draft last year. This dude would have been 3rd on the draft. He probably would have been taken 3rd last year. Like, that's how real this is. I just know what I'm looking at. I know what I'm looking at. And I'm telling y'all, I know y'all be like, why y'all overreacting to a player that hasn't proven himself? It's because I know what translatable skills look like right off the bat. I've seen enough basketball to know when a guy can step on the NBA floor and do it already. Trey can do it already. He can do it already. It's just a matter of him putting on strength, learning the game, of course, taking care of his body, taking care of his mind, whatever needs to be done in that way, and developing, man. Be passionate about this game because you got some natural ability that can turn you into a Hall of Famer. I'm telling you, there's nothing short. Nothing short. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not crazy. I'm telling you. Probably the best player in the draft that nobody knows. The best player in the draft that nobody knows. This is the guy. That's him, Trey Murphy. So I'm going to end it right there, man. I'm super excited about this player. He single-handedly turned my whole mindset around about this entire New Orleans franchise. If he wasn't on this roster with this type of talent, I would have an entirely different thing to say because for me, I think Zion should be considering getting the hell out of here now and getting to New York. But I look at all these 3-and-D players and all these three-point shooters around him, and I'm like, hold your horses, brother. Hold your horses because there's something in this world called a super max. And that super max can get you the most money that you can get in this league, and he will be qualifying for it if he can turn himself into the player of dominance that we know he was built to become. If you go to, say, New York, you're cutting down maybe $30 million of those dollars. Now you're going to make that money up outside, of course. So this is not really about as much money, but you just don't want to leave anything on the table, and you don't want to underestimate the prospects, the shooting prospects around you that are going to, over time as they develop, help you both defensively and offensively. Because those guys, all of the guys that I mentioned, including Akira, Trey, Didi, B.I., all of those guys, long-arm defenders, swing men that can play 4 positions. Trey Murphy can defend 4 positions, y'all. 1 through 4, comfortably, with his 6'9" body and 7-foot wingspan. Yeah, they got to figure out a way to get him into that lineup. Maybe at the 4, but they have to play small ball 5. Zion's in the way in that way. So he'd have to be 3, B.I.'s in the way. The lineup's all over the place. They're going to have to move some people eventually. They don't have to worry about that right away because these guys haven't developed into what they're going to be. But when they get there, they got some small forward power on this roster that's going to help a lot. A lot. I'm not sure how good this team's going to be. If all of these young players come together, including the ones that I didn't do homework on, if they're all really good, I don't know if they can make the playoffs in the Western Conference. It's just going to be tough. But they'll go as far as Zion can take them. And there's a scenario in my mind that I see Zion averaging 35, 37 points this year. Like, honestly, it's one of many scenarios. But it's not the wildest dream I have where he literally almost averaged 40 points this year. And the reason why I think that's the case is because he's an unstoppable force. It's year 3. He's only getting better. He averaged 27 points last year. And I think a jump for an athlete like that who can literally score on every play because he's that dominant, the potential for him to will himself to that many points every single night isn't crazy. Like, it's not crazy. I don't know that he can do it. But do I think he can get 35 points a game every night? I do. The way he dunks, the way he moves, yeah, he can. It's about conditioning. For him, it's about conditioning, in my opinion. Because there's no defense that's going to really be able to stop a Zion. I'm not going to lie to you guys. They're going to have to collapse on him. And as they continue to put shooters around him, that's going to be a useless collapse. So what I'm seeing is the guys like the Treys and the Didis, suddenly, and Devante Graham, suddenly, that's a dynamic that Zion has that he hasn't had since he's been in the league. That opens a lot up for him. Now, you're not collapsing all on him like that. You're not. The paint is open. It's essentially open if these shooters keep the defense as honest as I'm picturing them forcing them to, especially those 3. I'm telling you, he could score on every play. Like, and you consider, in theory, Jonas is also on out of the paint too, because he's going to be roaming around. They're going to have him doing different stuff. The paint's open. Zion's going to be in one-on-one and two-on-one situations where he's getting fouled. He hits free throws. The numbers going to pile up. Look, Shaq wasn't able to average no 35 points because he couldn't shoot the 3, and he couldn't shoot free throws. If Shaq could shoot the 3 and shot free throws, he'd average 42, 50 points. Literally. No exaggeration. Zion can shoot the 3. He can hit free throws. That's what I'm equating in. That's why I'm upping his numbers to that degree, because he's going to hit 2 threes a night. So, realistically, I think he's averaged under 30 points. I think you're looking at 28. You probably up it to 20, 29 or something like that. But there's a scenario that's crazy. But, yeah, I can see it. I literally can see it. So, keep that in mind. If he were to do something crazy like that, he probably would be either MVP or runner-up. You know, he'll be in that conversation. So, I think that's possible, man. I know that sounds nuts, but all he really needed was a cohesive basketball floor that's spaced comfortably for him to be able to maneuver. And once that happens, you will understand that there is no stopping that dude. None. Watch. My name is BDO44. Thank y'all for watching. Pelicans, I think y'all going to have a pretty good year. Out of the playoffs. I'm not going to assume everything clicks for this team. I don't even know who's coaching. Sorry, I didn't come prepared in that way. I'm not certain who they have coaching the ball. Probably did know, but I forgot. Sorry. But a lot of stuff had to come together. The coaching staff, all of that has to come together. Leadership, who's going to be the vet on the team, who's going to help bring galvanize the troops, as they say. I don't have an answer for that. So as far as I'm concerned, this is just day one for a young team that's still assembling, still got to figure out who they are individually and collectively as a team. So asking for them to make the playoffs, that's not what I'm going to do. What I will say, though, is this is a very important year, because if they can keep everybody healthy, by the end of the year, you were going to know who all these guys are. That's what I think. This is a year where you're going to come into it, and they're going to be the darling. They're going to be one of the darling teams of the NBA if everything comes together. I think that. Because nobody's expecting nothing out of them. You know, just like Cleveland, just like the Rockets. I kind of have them in that range of teams that no one expects anyone to do. Minnesota, another one. No one expects them to do anything, but people who are paying attention to scouting that's coming into the league understands that they just got an influx of a lot of talent. All 4 of those teams got an influx of a lot of talent, and they're not going to be what they used to be because of it. So New Orleans is one of them. I thank y'all for putting up with me, and I'm finally going to walk away. Peace.